we're gonna read Beautiful Oops by Barney Salisbury. Beautiful Oops. Beautiful Oops. Beautiful Oops. Beautiful Oops. Oops. Beautiful Oops. 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 A torn piece of paper. So look, this is a piece of paper and I see a tear on the piece of paper. Look, I see a tear on the piece of paper. Yeah, that's a piece of paper and I see the tear on the piece of paper. Look, it ripped. It ripped. The piece of paper ripped. Look, it ripped. It ripped. The piece of paper ripped. So that's what it, oops, it just ripped. I don't know how it ripped, but the piece of paper ripped. And that's why it says oops, it ripped. It ripped. Oops. Is just the beginning. So it's just the beginning. So we see an alligator and it says, it's just the beginning. Every spill, so they're telling us every spill. So they're telling us about the spill. So look, every spill. Yeah, so the cup spilled of paint. I think this is paint. And look, it looks like something. What do you think it looks like? Yeah, so the paint spilled. But that's okay, it looks like an elephant. And it says that every spill has lots. So every spill has lots. So every spill has lots. So every spill has lots. And lots. So every spill has lots and lots. So every spill has lots and lots. So we said every spill has lots and lots of possibilities. So every spill has lots and lots of possibilities. So even though the paint got spilled, it has lots and lots of possibilities. Yep, it looks like an elephant. Beads paper. So look, this paper is bent. Look, it's bent like this. Look. It's something so to celebrate. So look, this person had a bent paper, but they didn't get upset because their paper is bent. Instead, they thought of something that they could do with the bent paper. So look, what did they decide to do? They decide to make the corner of this bent paper into the head of the penguin. So even though their paper was bent, they didn't get upset. They made the head of the penguin with this bent paper. Look, the bent paper is the head of the penguin. Yeah, look, the bent paper is the head of the penguin. Yeah, they made it into a head. Because it was bent, they turned this part of the paper into the head of the penguin. So they didn't throw out the paper. So they didn't throw out the paper. So they didn't throw out the paper. Instead, they decided to draw the head of the penguin here. So they made a penguin family. A little drip of paint. So a little drip of paint lets your imagination run wild. So a little bit of paint lets your imagination run wild, because with a little bit of paint you could create whatever you like. So a little bit of paint makes your imagination run wild. A scrap of paper. So this is a scrap of paper. So a scrap of paper. So a scrap of paper can be fun to play with. So a scrap of paper can be fun to play with. So a scrap of paper can be fun to play with. So a scrap of paper can be fun to play with. A smudge and a smear. So a smudge and a smear, because sometimes we make smudges and smears when we're painting or writing. Sometimes we make smudges and smears. So smudges and smears. So smudges and smears can make magic appear. So look, smudges and smears make magic appear. Look. Oh, let's see. Look. So smudges and smears can make magic appear. So look, there's a smudge on here on the paper. So did the person get mad that there's a smudge on their paper? No, they didn't get upset. Instead, they thought of something creative to do. So even though there's a smudge or a smear on your paper, that's okay. You just have to think of a creative way to use the smudge and the smear. A stain. So maybe you could get a stain on your paper. You could get a stain on your paper. A stain. A stain. A stain. A stain has potential if you play with its shape. So look, this person was drinking hot chocolate and it left a circle stain on their paper. So did they get mad? No. Instead, they drew a circular frog on it. They drew an animal on there. So the stain ended up drying, and they ended up drawing on the stain. The stain ended up drying, and they ended up drawing on the stain. Holes. Sometimes you get holes on your paper. Sometimes your paper might break and maybe there might be holes on your paper. So sometimes there could be holes on your paper. Holes. Sometimes there could be holes on your paper. Holes. Holes are worth exploring. So holes are worth. So holes are worth exploring. Holes are worth exploring. You should explore the holes on your paper. Instead of throwing your paper away, you should explore. Maybe later. made, when you think you have made, when you think you have made when you think you have made a mistake, when you think you've made a mistake, when you think you've made a mistake, wait, when you think you've made a mistake, oops, look at the piece of paper, it's crumbled. Oops, look, the paper is crumbled right over here, the paper is crumbled right over here. Think of it as an opportunity to make something. So if there's a mistake on your paper, or if there's a stain on your paper, or if there's holes on your paper, or if your paper is bent, instead of throwing out the paper, think of it as an opportunity to make something. So you should think creatively and create something out of your paper. As an opportunity. Think of it beautiful. Think of it beautiful. Think of it as an opportunity to make something beautiful. Yeah. So you should think of it as an opportunity to make something beautiful. Yeah, so you should think of it as an opportunity to make something beautiful instead of just throwing out the paper.